Imagine waking up freezing. The fire beside you is almost dead. Outside, snow has buried everything you recognize. There are no supermarkets, no heaters, no winter jackets, and the animals you normally hunt? Gone. For ancient humans, a winter that lasted too long wasn't just uncomfortable. It could wipe out your entire group. So what did humans actually do when winter refused to end? And how did people with almost nothing survive temperatures that can kill us even today? Let's put you there. You're living thousands of years ago. Your shelter isn't exactly five-star accommodation. There's no thermostat, no heated blanket, and definitely no hot shower waiting for you. Your most important possession is probably something we'd barely think about today: fire. Fire meant warmth. Fire meant cooked food. Fire meant light. And more importantly, fire meant predators were less likely to walk into your camp and turn you into dinner. But there's a problem. A fire needs fuel, and after days of snow, finding dry wood becomes much harder. So keeping an existing fire alive could be incredibly important. Instead of constantly starting over, people could protect hot embers and use them to restart fires. Because when temperatures dropped far enough, losing your fire wasn't an inconvenience. It was an emergency. Now you're warm beside the fire. Problem solved? Not even close. Eventually, you have to go outside. And you're not walking into a closet filled with winter coats. Ancient humans had to make protection from what they could hunt. Animal hides became extremely valuable. Imagine wearing layers of hide and fur around your body while facing freezing wind. It wasn't fashionable. But nobody was judging your outfit. They were too busy trying not to freeze. People could scrape and process hides using stone tools, turning animal skins into coverings, clothing, bedding, and other useful materials. And this created another problem. To get warm clothing, you needed animals, which meant someone had to leave the safety of camp. Here's where winter gets scary. Plants become scarce, some animals migrate, others become harder to locate, and suddenly your group's food supply begins shrinking. Imagine waking up every morning and watching your food disappear, with absolutely no idea when you'll find more. Ancient humans couldn't simply wait until spring without preparation. Groups could preserve food when it was available. Cold temperatures themselves could help slow spoilage. Drying and other preservation methods also made food last longer. But eventually, stored food runs low, which means somebody has to hunt. And today, that's you. You grab a hunting weapon, you leave the fire, and immediately realize something. You're not the only hungry animal outside. Winter didn't just make humans hungry. Predators were hungry too. Depending on the time and place, prehistoric humans lived alongside dangerous predators. Large cats, wolves, hyenas, and bears. Now imagine following animal tracks through snow. You're focused on finding dinner. Then you notice another set of tracks. They're fresh, and they're following yours. Suddenly, this isn't a hunting trip anymore. It's a survival situation. This is one reason living in groups was such a huge advantage. One person alone is vulnerable. Several humans carrying weapons, communicating, watching different directions, and protecting one another? That's a much harder target. Humans weren't necessarily the strongest animals. We had something better: cooperation. Eventually, your group spots prey. Now comes the dangerous part. There are no rifles, no scopes, no vehicles. You have simple weapons, planning, communication, and hopefully a very good idea. Early humans developed increasingly sophisticated hunting strategies and tools. Rather than relying purely on strength, groups could cooperate to approach, surround, ambush, or pursue animals. And bringing down a large animal could completely change the group's situation. Because the animal wasn't only food. Its hide could provide material. Bones could become tools. Tendons could be useful. Fat provided valuable energy. When survival is difficult, wasting useful resources doesn't make much sense. But let's say your hunt succeeds. Great. Except now, a storm is coming. The wind gets stronger. Snow begins falling. Visibility disappears. And getting lost could be deadly. So shelter becomes your next priority. Depending on where and when humans lived, shelter could take many forms. Natural rock shelters and caves could offer protection in some environments. Elsewhere, people constructed shelters using materials available around them: wood, branches, animal hides, and in some prehistoric contexts, even large animal bones. The goal wasn't luxury. It was simple: keep the wind out. A shelter, combined with clothing, bedding, body heat, and fire, could make the difference between surviving the night and suffering dangerous exposure. But there's another problem nobody talks about. You're stuck inside, with your entire group, for a very long time. Ancient humanity may have discovered one of our oldest survival challenges, living with relatives. But something remarkable could happen around that fire. People communicated, they taught, they repaired tools, they cared for children, they shared knowledge, and they planned. Imagine an experienced hunter showing a younger person where animals usually migrate. Someone demonstrates how to shape a stone tool. Another person knows which materials burn best. Another remembers where food was found during the previous season. Knowledge could pass from one person to another, and that's incredibly powerful. A bear is stronger than you. A wolf may be faster than you. But neither can sit around a fire and explain to the next generation exactly how their grandparents survived the last terrible winter. Human culture became part of our survival strategy. What if someone gets sick? Then someone starts coughing. Now you have another problem. Winter isn't just cold. Food shortages and injuries can weaken people. And ancient humans obviously didn't have modern hospitals or pharmacies. But archaeological evidence shows that prehistoric humans sometimes survived serious injuries and impairments. That tells us something important. In at least some cases, other people were helping them. Someone unable to hunt could still receive food. An injured group member might survive because others protected and supported them. Survival wasn't always about being the strongest individual. Sometimes it was about having people who refused to leave you behind. Weeks pass. The winter continues. Your food supply is now dangerously low. Every meal gets smaller. The group has decisions to make. Do you stay? Do you move? Do you risk another hunt? Mobility was one of humanity's great advantages. Many prehistoric groups weren't permanently tied to one location. People could follow resources, animals, seasons, and changing environmental conditions. But traveling during winter was dangerous. You're carrying children, tools, food, materials, and most importantly, fire-making knowledge and everything your group has learned. You're not simply moving camp, you're moving your entire world. And something changes. One morning, you wake up. Something feels different. Water drips from the shelter. You step outside. The snow is beginning to melt. After months of cold, the landscape is changing. Animals begin returning. Plants eventually become available again. Food becomes easier to find. Your group survived. Not because humans had thick fur, not because we had enormous teeth, and definitely not because prehistoric life was easy. You survived because humans could adapt. You made clothing, controlled fire, built shelter, worked together, shared food, passed down knowledge, and changed strategies when the environment changed. That's one of the most incredible things about human history. Our ancestors survived environments that seem almost impossible without modern technology. And every winter they survived helped preserve knowledge for the generation that came next. So the next time your heater stops working for 5 minutes, remember, thousands of years ago, somebody was sitting beside a tiny fire wrapped in animal hide, listening to predators outside, and hoping spring would arrive. And somehow, they made it. But winter wasn't the only nightmare ancient humans faced. Because what happened when their most important survival tool, fire, suddenly disappeared?